Really excited to be talking today on the Locavana Unprocessed podcast. We have Parker Brook, the founder of Lovebird Cereals, which we're going to get into and learn a lot more about. But effectively, Lovebird Cereal is a cereal that's actually a wholesome, good, delicious, and nutritious breakfast food that's great for anybody. But my kids absolutely love it.
Happy to hear
They
it.
eat it they eat it for breakfast, but then they want it like if they're watching TV and they want a snack, they're asking
Yeah.
for like, can I have a cup of cereal? And they'll just eat it like it's like a snack food, and it really is delicious. But most of all, you can't hold the deliciousness aside, but it's also healthy and it's not filled with so much of the garbage that we consume on a daily basis as Americans these days. And so I just want to thank you for being courageous enough to actually create a product like this, because it is awesome and it's something we really need. And I'm looking forward to hearing about how and why you started Lovebird Cereals. But Parker, it's great to be talking with you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to dive in.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess let's do it then. Let's dive in to what is Lovebird Cereals, what's the mission, and sort of the why. Why did you start it?
Yeah, you have to go back to the beginning. So I used to work at a big food company, and people may have heard of General Mills. So
Heard
worked
of
on
it.
everything from Cheerios to Nature Valley to Yoplait to Totino's Pizza Rolls, which is the one brand that made me question what food actually is.
Aren't those made by a little grandma in
Yeah.
Naples, Italy, one by one in
God,
her
I miss
kitchen?
Grandma Totino. Not anymore. They have quite a big production facility. But working at Big Food, was on my own food as medicine health journey, and really became aware of the power of food and what it can do for our bodies, both good and bad. And then when I became a parent, I just felt this overwhelming sense of love and protection and how can I make a difference. I think anyone who's had kids probably has a similar moment. Mine was just channeled into how can I clean up packaged food, right? And holding this little girl in my hands, I was like, all right, like I don't want to sell cereal with a rabbit on it anymore, right? Like how could I make something better, right? And so when she was born was what I call my Jerry Maguire moment, right? Like I was like, I need to leave. I need to do this. Who's coming with me? Grab the goldfish. Nobody came with me. So I had to do this journey on my own. But,
Wow.
It started with that mission of cleaning up junk food
Yeah.
with real food from the earth, and ultimately became a cereal. Obviously, I love cereal. I grew up on it. I think a lot of people have too. It's very nostalgic. And I knew there was a better way to make it.
Yeah.
But some of the statistics that kind of rang the alarm bells for me were, 1 in 2 people have a chronic health disease. 60 to 70% of our diet is ultra processed junk food, which is the highest in the world.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there could be an opportunity to kind of clean it up with whole food ingredients, food from the earth, and just thoughtfully make it. And obviously real food can taste really good too. And
Yeah.
I think the one statistic that startled me the most was probably that the number one breakfast for kids is cereal.
Yeah.
Once you start looking at the ingredients, I think no matter where you are in the health journey, I think you go down that aisle and you feel like you're at a carnival, right? There's all these cartoon
wild.
eyes looking at
Well,
you.
if you have to put a toy in something,
Yeah.
in a food to sell
Yeah.
it, then which are you selling?
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. I even remember as a kid, you picked the cereal based on the toy.
Oh, absolutely. And there's research for that, right? There's a ton of people are always like, oh, are these companies like bad? I don't think they're bad, but their primary motivation is profit
For sure.
and shareholder profit, and they will do whatever it takes to make that happen. And so there's countless number of people, probably on any given brand, 10 to 100 different people trying to sell that product to you and get you to overeat it, right? It's all about can they get you to buy it, and then how can they get you to buy more of it, right?
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola calls it like share of stomach. Like how can we get more people to drink Coca-Cola? And all of these food companies are designed to get you to overeat, which is why we have a lot of these chronic health issues in our country today.
So
Wow.
that's something interesting. We Seth and I, who's the other founder, we talked to Callie Means, not on a podcast, but we were at an event with him, and we talked about the same thing. Where it's like with the corporations, like how much responsibility do they bear for it? And I guess in my opinion, at this point, there has to be some sort of moral culpability, because maybe 20 years ago there's less known, at least publicly, about the downsides of dyes and flavors and all these different fillers. But like now, this is all public, this is all out there. It's very well known that these things are having adverse effects on our most vulnerable people, our children. So like, at what point does there become that moral culpability, do you think, like from the corporate level?
Yeah, I mean, I think they usually operate under the guise of like consumer choice, right?
Yeah.
That's how they defend a lot of these actions, where we're just providing a option in a sea of options. I think where I have issues when it's a agricultural issue where we have 90% of food has trace amounts of glyphosate in it, right? Where it's no longer a consumer choice for people to pick what they put in their bodies. I'm all for consumer choice. I'm not here telling we need to ban these products. It's just like, how can we level the playing field for better products to come to market? And also just provide education to folks where they blindly trust, you know, our cartoon character, or you talk to our parents' generations, you know, they actually trust a lot of these big brands a lot, right? I think it's our generation that's kind of questioned that a little bit more. And I also think the food has changed substantially since our parents' generation, right? I mean, you look at bread, it used to be 4 ingredients, now it's 32. There's no reason why we need 32 ingredient bread. And a lot of the times they justify that because of food availability or food deserts. And we have one of the highest amounts of food waste in the world in the US. Like, we don't need glyphosate or synthetic pesticides on our food to make it more efficient, because a lot of it gets thrown away anyways.
That's a very interesting thought.
So the culpability, like, to me, it's more about awareness and helping people make choices for themselves. Because I think once you ask somebody, it's like, hey, would you want your Cheerios if they were soaked in this chemical? And most people would probably say no. Right? But right now they don't have that choice, because to your point, the testing is often industry funded, which is inherently biased. Not all of it is bad research, but you know, on average, it's not great. You know, it's the wolf providing its own data to the hen house, right? Like, it doesn't make a ton of sense. So I think for me, it's just like education for people to make their own choices for their family, right? Like, I think I would want to know, and having been on this journey and gone down all these rabbit holes, what's in my food. Understanding the impact that it can have on you, but also young children or young people. You know, there's countless studies on food dyes and things like that. And so I think it should operate from a perspective of, like, do no harm or prove something is good versus,
the burden is
hey,
on
we
you.
ran some studies that create some doubt, so we're good. It's no, I mean, if Monsanto and these companies have faced multi-billion dollars in lawsuits, like, something's there, right? Like, the court of law has determined there's enough there to have legal accountability and settlements be paid out, but it's still allowed in our food.
And that's the interesting thing too, is because there's that, like, the Kellogg's and these big corporations are kind of the middlemen, because they're not, I'm sure they own their supply chains to a certain degree, but if they're just sourcing glyphosate-ridden wheat and other corn and all that kind of stuff, they can't necessarily be held liable for the glyphosate that then is in their food, because they're not the ones producing it.
But they're forcing the prices. They're forcing people to sell at the cheapest possible price, and they don't care about the quality. So they are going to set
There's
the
market
quality
manipulation.
standard. And if their quality standard is, I don't care what's on it. I just want it for 3 cents a pound cheaper than anybody else is going to get it. So there's still culpability. I mean, whether they're the middleman or not.
But how do you compete with, like, as somebody who's disrupted this legacy category of cereal, like, how do you compete with the $3.50 box of Kellogg's cereal versus yours, which is around $9-10 a box?
Yeah, I mean, I get it as a consumer, right? And I think having been on that journey, for me, it's about you get what you pay for. So with a box of Lovebird, you're paying for more quality and better ingredients. Every cereal is different, but some of those big box cereals, you're probably only getting a nickel of food in that box, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not,
That's
you're paying
true.
for the packaging, you're paying for the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The actual food in it is actually a very small percentage
Yeah.
Yeah.
of what you're actually paying for. For a box of Lovebird, you're pretty much paying for food. And so I think it is hand in hand with that conversation around why food is important. I think, you know, it's changing now, and there's tailwinds now to help clean up our food system. And that's why I've created Lovebird, is to be not just a voice, but also a product that people can trust and set an example. Because to what you both said, the culpability angle is these big food companies, they don't really own the farms, right? Some of them do, but most of them don't. But they can still dictate what ingredients they source, right? Like McDonald's has very strict standards for the, you know, the specific potato they need
Yep.
to make the French fries look the exact same. And they're doing that out of choice, more for vanity reasons than anything. But that just shows you that these food companies can drive change. But I
yeah.
generally believe that change happens at the grassroots level with people every day at the shelf. You know, I'll have these conversations and people get a little pessimistic of what can we actually do? And I think a lot. I mean, any change throughout history has started with the people, not a corporation, not a government. It's the people making choices and asking for better quality food. So there is a price gap, but it is because of the food you're buying and the brand you're supporting. And I buy a bunch of brands like that because I know, having been on the big food side of things, and now, if you want to call it the small food side of things, even across the board, there's some companies that say they do one thing and then do another. And so it's kind of hard to find trustworthy companies. But for me, you know, I can simply look at my ingredient cost, and that explains the price
Yeah.
difference.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an economies of scale element too, and you vote with your dollar. So the more people who do support you, the
Yep.
more you can be readily available and probably bring those costs down eventually.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that food that is on the shelf at that cheap a price is there because of government subsidies.
Yeah.
So, like, if those were to remove or shift, like, it would dramatically shift the cost of that product. So,
Start subsidizing
so it's like
organic
$3.
cassava.
Yeah, it's like $3.50 now. Remove the subsidies, sort of making up a number. It's probably closer to like $6.
Yeah.
So your taxpayer dollar is actually paying for, you know, deflated prices of chemically soaked ingredients.
Yeah.
So the thing that inspires me is, and I like how you said this. We're not all yelling, "Oh, we must ban everything that's bad for you." Again, people they can make a choice, but what lacks though is people with the courage to stand up and say, "I'm going to do this the hard but better way," which is definitely what you're doing. It's definitely harder to have a cereal, because my wife picked up the box. She was like, "Look at these ingredients. There's 7 ingredients, and I know what each one of these is." You know, she's like, "This is amazing." When she was looking at Lovebird Cereal, you know, to do that is much harder than to just do the food science, the big stuff, and just get a bunch of, you know, monohydrate, whatever it is. But that's what actually creates change. You can't regulate change. It historically fails. But being sort of that grassroots person that's like, you know what, I'm gonna stake my career on this, because I assume you had a good job and you left it to take a whole bunch of risk on something much harder but better. How do you know, that's where the real change comes from. But how do you actually manage that? I mean, it seems to me actually daunting. And I'm a smart guy, but if you're like, you have to create a recipe, first of all, and like you said, nobody was like, "Yeah, let's go storm out and I'm going to follow Parker." It's like, you're on your own. You got to come up with a recipe. You got to come up with branding. You got to do people don't even know, like, I got to establish the company, taxes. Now you've got, you know, Nexus in 48 states, and you're filing tax returns, all these little minutia of starting a business like this. I just want to hear, like, that leap. That leap is fascinating, and there's hardly anybody that's willing to do it.
Well, now that you mentioned it, it does seem very daunting. Having some flashbacks.
Oh,
but,
for sure.
I mean, maybe not for everybody. I think in different ways you can channel that energy. But for me, it's really that feeling of becoming a dad. And it was not so much a rational decision. It was like a calling. It was like, this is what I need to go do. And once I had that, all of the other minutiae, as you mentioned,
You just figured out.
you figure out. I mean, it's hard. We all have things in our lives that we have to shovel and things that you'd probably rather be doing.
Sure.
And there's parts of the business I love. You know, we give a portion of our profit to fight childhood cancer, and that's great. And then being a part of those families' journey, and then also just like cleaning up food. And I think for me, it just starts with that emotional feeling of becoming a parent. And then that translated into a calling. And then the rest, although difficult, you know, I have plenty of stories about that journey and running into walls. But I think the calling is what grounds me. And like, that's what keeps me focused. So the product, the brand is named after a nickname I have for my daughter. So every time I look at the box as, you know, her plus the ingredients. And like, that's what I stand behind. And so
That's incredible.
if I do anything right is to make food that is convenient, but also with the best quality ingredients. And obviously that should taste good. And then, you know, my ultimate test is sliding that bowl of cereal across the table. And, you know, I feed it to my daughter, right? So I want the best products. Where you go to some of these other big companies, you're in a boardroom, all these people that consume the products, the millions of people that eat a box of Frosted Flakes or Cheerios, they have like 91% household penetration, which means 91% of households have a box of that cereal in their pantry at some point during the year.
Wow.
Which is crazy,
That is
right?
crazy.
But when you get that big, you lose the humanity, you lose the touch, and you start viewing everything as a number. And admittedly, as Lovebird has grown, like I've been at those crossroads, right? You're like, oh, I know I could use the cheapest cassava out there that doesn't come from quality soil that's been heavy metal tested and runs through my battery of tests that I do because I serve it to my daughter. Oh, I could save some money and use this cheaper ingredient. And you're at those crossroads, and a big company would be like, absolutely, go do that, like margin expansion.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, that's not what it's about, right?
Yeah.
And so we mentioned economies of scale, and as I grow, like the ultimate goal is to make it more accessible. And I hope that Lovebird becomes so successful that other companies copy it, right? Like I would gladly welcome that, because that means more people are doing it my way and brings down the ultimate cost. So, I mean, there is a lot to be daunted by, no matter what change or crossroads you're at in your life. And for me, it was that, you know, emotion, right? There was no white space business opportunity to create Lovebird. It wasn't like, here's the gap in the market and here's what I'm going to do. It's like, literally, I want to clean up junk food. It's killing us.
Yeah.
And how can I do that in the best way possible? Because I'm now a dad.
So
That's pretty awesome.
So in the beginning, how did you, like when you mentioned that you had launched e-commerce to begin with, like how did you validate the product and test it with your intro market and start to get some momentum?
Yeah, I mean, starting up it's kind of crazy to think about that. I've learned a lot since then. But for me, it was a lot of experimentation in the kitchen, experimenting with different recipes, and then I brought in some people to help
So you're
me.
actually cooking the cereal yourself to start.
Just to, like, test recipes and stuff like that to get the flavor right. I remember going to some flavor houses, which are companies that you go to when you want to create a product, and they sell you artificial, natural flavors, whatever. And I was like, hey, I want to make a cereal with honey. And they're like, no way, it's not possible. No one's going to pay for it. You can't get it to work.
Really?
People don't even think real honey tastes like real honey should. They want natural flavors or artificial flavors. And you actually start looking at a lot of these products. I mean, honey, I think, is the 6th or 7th ingredient in a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. It's like refined grain, refined sugar, another refined starch, I think some sort of brown sugar molasses or something. And then finally honey. And so I got laughed out of those rooms. And then I finally found some people that would do it. So there is a lot of nuance to the recipe to make it work, but just trial and error. I mean, I think the whole tailwind or impetus or genesis of Lovebird was like that calling. And then I think when it launched and I started to like post on social media, like people were attracted to it and like-minded people, which was, it's sort of like a business trust fall, right? Like, I'm going to launch this thing, as we talked about, off mic, I took my General Mills stock, cashed that out, and that was like the starter money to create Lovebird, right? So
Poetic.
in some sort of poetic way, they had a part in this, and made the first batch, and I was like, all right, hopefully people like it, and people seem to really resonate with it. The product has gotten much better since then, as with any new thing. Over time, it gets better. But just trial and error. I mean, nobody has all the answers. I think as we grow up, that's
for sure.
what we figure out. I think we're all doing the best we can. And I think with Lovebird is that commitment to the calling, the name, and how it represents my daughter. And then the ingredient standard is non-negotiable. I mean, I've tested every cassava in the world at this point. And there's one that works for us, right? There's one supplier of honey that meets our standards. And so, it's relentless. And it's a relentless pursuit of constantly evaluating suppliers because things change, suppliers change, and you have to be committed to the reason you did it in the first place.
Yeah. What's the hardest part of your supply chain, would you say?
The cassava, and we've recently added buckwheat, which I feel like is more nutrient dense, and we found a supplier here in the United States that is great and follows all of our practices and meets our standards, and also helps us alleviate some of that risk because there's one supplier in Nicaragua that could supply us our cassava, right? And if something were to happen to them, we would not have a product.
Yeah.
And so I think we're able to get increased nutrient density, I think a better crunch, and also like diversify the supply chain a little bit, because I think when you are that strict, you have a very small pool of people you can partner with. And so that's why, every week I'm talking to new suppliers, testing new suppliers, because I always want a deep bench just in case something were to happen, especially as we grow.
Yeah. What's a day in the life of the founder of Lovebird Cereal?
A lot of whining in the morning from my kids. It's every day's a little different. I mean, I think I went from General Mills, where I had back-to-back meetings, never had a minute to think, barely any time to eat, to now my schedule is much more flexible, and I think I'm able to pick the things I want to work on and do, like talk to you all, and connect with people. Like, I run our customer service emails, I run our social media accounts. That's what I like most, is like spreading education and awareness. And
Sure.
I view Lovebird as a vehicle for that, whether you buy Lovebird or not. Like, if anything, I want you just to start questioning what's in your food, and find out what works for you and your family, because everybody's different. But I think just to blindly trust a cartoon character in a grocery store is kind of crazy. Like, you wouldn't buy like life insurance from Trix the Rabbit. Why are you buying food from him?
I don't know. You buy it from a gecko.
True.
That's
True.
I think all those things. The marketing.
That's a fair point.
The marketing is wild. I mean and I heard somebody say this. If you need a cartoon character to sell something, you should really question what you're buying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, you don't have to advertise things that you need. And when it's a box of non-nutrient garbage, then you need toys and rabbits to sell it. And it's
I think that personal touch thing you mentioned, though, I think that's so, like, that's how we
it's huge.
we got in touch the first time. I responded to an email, like my fiance was like in your affiliate program, and I sent you an email, and it was like, hey, I have I think I had some suggestions or something, whatever, and then you responded directly, and I just, marketing, like, as a marketer, like, people like you send emails from the founder, it says Parker at Lovebird, whatever, but then you go to the generic info email, whatever, but to actually get a response from the founder, I mean, I think it just like shows
the passion, the
from
authenticity
from product
of
to
the passion.
experience. It's all
Because passion is a good marketing tool too. If you're disingenuous about it, like all the big brands have brands that they try to make look like quaint, like somebody baked it on a farm somewhere in Oklahoma, and it's transparent, and it's disingenuous, but
Newsflash, spoiler alert, it's not.
yeah, exactly. It's made in, the same place as I've actually heard, because this is a big state for cereal production for big cereal, and they will make a batch for the U.S. and then they have to spend days cleaning the plant to make the batch that's going to go to Europe, because the European standard is so much higher that they couldn't sell on the same equipment without doing like a complete scrub of it.
Yeah.
And so it's not a farm in Oklahoma. It's a chemical soaked plant in southern Michigan somewhere. But
Speaking of Battle Creek, did you go to the Kellogg protest?
I did. I was there, which was kind of. It started with Jason Karp and Vonnie, and there was this commercial that Kellogg's put out, which I bet they wish they never did, but it was like the cereal for dinner, where they're like, "Hey, chicken, take the night off and eat a bowl of sugar."
Oh my God.
stomach share, right? That's what you're talking about. That's,
They're like,
that's
here's a new
exactly-
occasion
that's
for
crazy.
us. Let's get people to eat cereal for dinner. And it's like,
Wow.
let's not go there, Tony. And so they ran that ad, and that spurred kind of Jason and Vonnie partnering up, and then essentially wound up being all of us in Battle Creek, kind of marching, and of course they didn't let us in.
I remember watching it live on the live stream. I wish I could have been there. I didn't know about it until the morning of. But.
Yeah, and it was powerful to see the people there that spoke. You mentioned Callie Means earlier, Vonnie, a bunch of different people that are really spearheading this movement.
How did you get in touch with Vonnie, who's food babe?
Just through Instagram. Byproduct of me running everything, and putting out the content that I do. She started following us, and we started talking, and I saw that she posted that they were going to go there, and I was like, I'd love to come, and she's like, definitely come.
That's awesome.
And a bunch of people showed up, and really just the number of people was shocking, that you got all of those people of all places in the world to come to Battle Creek, Michigan, which is not an easy place to get to. But then there's just the passion, and I think there's some quote, I forget where it came from, but it's essentially pissed off moms are going to save our kids. I think that's, or pissed off parents, I like to think, as a dad who's more involved in that too. But I think that's what it boils down to, is people taking their health into their own hands and start questioning what's in their food and demanding better. Because ultimately, a Kellogg's or a General Mills stock price, if it goes up or down a couple percentage points, that's enough for them to drive change. So, Trix, once upon a time in, I think, 2016, removed artificial food dyes, and their sales tanked by 50%.
Really?
And then they added them back the year later, and sales went back up. So I think a lot of that, Battle Creek, I think the passion, the community was fantastic, and I think a lot of flack that is directed at that event, or the food dye movement in general, is well, is that really going to make everyone healthier? It's well, first of all, there's no silver bullet for health. It's not one thing you're going to do that's going to make you healthy or not. It's a cumulative effect. And I think what I am most excited about with the food dye removal is that it levels the playing field. Literally, the only reason that kids want to eat Fruit Loops, want to eat Trix, want to eat Captain Crunch, whatever cereal, is because of the bright colors. So if you take that away, guess what happens? Half of their sales just disappeared, and it levels the playing field for parents to help allow their kids to make better decisions, and also for kids not to be tricked by cartoon characters. So I think for me, that's the broader point that most people miss is, sure, food dye removal is important, but I think it also dramatically lowers the impact or consumption of these items for kids.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a good gateway too, because a lot of these, I think a lot of this anger from the moms, it's it's not just because there's two options and one is better and one is worse, but I think it's because of the inherent deception of it all. They have been deceived. They have fed their kids this, what they now know to be poison.
Without
so
a
it's
doubt.
the artificial colors, I think, is a great place to start, because it's so visual, and once you can see it, you can really understand that, hey, these bright colors to this bad thing, and then it sort of cascades from there, and then people start to look into it more and more, and then I think over time that'll lead to the flavors leaving and the other fillers and all that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
it's just the start, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to start somewhere, and I think to all the points you said is why it's a great place to start, because I don't think anybody can really defend artificial food dye when you have natural sources that you could use instead. And sure, it's not neon green, but it's still green.
They look better.
It looks more natural anyways.
Yeah.
So
That deception point is important, and I can tell you from my standpoint, that is one of the primary impetuses for me and Seth starting Locavana was I'm a child of the 80s, right? I grew up where Pop-Tarts was a balanced breakfast, and milk does a body good and all these things. And you like you said, there is that generation that inherently trusts corporations because why would nobody would let a corporation give us poison. That's crazy. And I'm kind of at that cusp of like, well, that's how I grew up. And now all of a sudden you start to get your eyes open, and more than not more than health, because obviously health is everything, but maybe right there tied with it for me. I don't like feeling like I'm being treated like an idiot.
yeah,
And I do. I honestly do, because for decades of my life, it was like, well, the food pyramid is the food pyramid, and this, if the USDA says it's good for me, then
American Heart Association.
Who couldn't? Who? I'm sure. Oh, and the American Heart Association would never do a study funded by the sugar industry. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's ludicrous.
Get out of
and
town.
then you start to realize, and that to me, that feeling deceived is probably one of my most powerful motivators, because I like to think, and I think most people like to think of themselves, oh, like you're not going to get one over on me. Like I'm not that dumb. And then you realize, no, you are that dumb. You've been that dumb your whole life, and you can stop being that dumb. But I was that dumb, and like it's if you really start, and it becomes a bit. I mean, you can go into a little bit of a disenfranchisement mode if you really start to read, and like, yeah, the American Heart Association is funded by the sugar industry. All of these different things that you start to realize, and you're like, man, they think I'm a jerk, and they treat me like one.
Yeah.
But I've let them.
yeah. I mean, I think in your defense, there's decades and generations of advertising, right? So from a consumer perspective, you're told these things. You see the commercials as a kid. You see them. You're like, hey, I want Apple Jacks, or I want this cereal. So there's marketing towards kids to parents that has, brainwash is a strong term, but has
It's the right term.
essentially provided cover for these companies to operate. And I think if you just dropped in any person and was like, here's how everything actually works, they would quickly realize like this is broken. Like there are conflicts of interest here, there are conflicts of interest there. All the studies we have are funded by the industry. There's a generally regarded as safe loophole in our food supply that essentially allows food companies to determine whether or not something is safe. And I think that goes back to our conversation with some of these ingredients that, have enough research to justify maybe they're not harmful, but I think the burden of proof should be on, hey, tell me it's healthy versus tell me that, it might be okay, right? And so we shouldn't be guinea pigs, right? Like these things should be tested, and there should be studies that prove that they're safe before they enter our food supply. And I think, unchecked over decades has resulted in our current health crisis, has resulted in, our current mental health, physical health crisis. Across the board, every metric you look at has gotten worse. And I think the question as to why that's happening is completely valid. And I think there needs to be more research, because a lot of these things that do have testing, they're tested in isolation. So like glyphosate exposure, it's tested in isolation, but it doesn't account for your cumulative impact. So when you actually break down a breakfast, let's say you eat Cheerios, you eat an oat-based snack bar, you eat other things that are highly contaminated with glyphosate, you cumulatively add those up, like that's a pretty large exposure in that single event or single occurrence, but then you compound that over time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of exposure. And it's not, there are food allergies, things that people are sensitive to, or certain ingredients that have immediate bodily reactions. But a lot of our chronic health disease is driven by inflammation, which is the compounding effect of all of these things over time. Yeah. And I liken it to like a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Yeah. It's not a single cut that's going to get you, but it's just over time you cut. Your body gets weaker, can't fight off disease more easily, and your cells start to break down, and it just, at some point, your body can only take so much. Our bodies are super resilient. I don't mean this to sound negative, like, our stomach lining replenishes every 2 weeks. I just learned the other day from a random question from my son. He's like, what are bones made out of? But it ultimately led me to like learn that our entire skeletal system is replaced every 10 years. Like your bones are growing. Like you are feeding your body, and it's like, all right, do you want to build a house with cardboard, or do you want to build a house with like actual solid wood? And I think that's the aha moment most people have, is like, all right, if I eat junk, that just wears my body down, right? But if I eat good food that nourishes my body, if I eat food from local farms, that has higher nutrient density versus something that was flown over here from some country in the cold chain, there's levels to it. But I think once you realize, hey, those ingredients, and I think ultra processed food is buzzy. It's not, well defined in my opinion. I look at it as more ultra processed ingredients. Like, what is in that product, and is it good or bad for me? Like, could I find modified cornstarch, whatever, in the grocery store? Can I buy, these things at a grocery store, and like would I feel comfortable serving that to guests at my house?
Right.
So I mean, there's levels to it, but yeah, I would agree with what you said.
But and undoing that though, you're combating an institution, a global, powerful, lobbying-filled, political, publicly traded institution. Are you in their crosshairs? Have you gotten targets or anything like that?
No, not yet.
You will be.
I don't know. I think, not yet. I mean, I actually did, like, maybe 2-3 years ago, got invited out and filmed an episode of a popular business show that may or may not have one of my son's favorite animals in the title, but Blank Tank.
Okay, cool.
But so I filmed that, and I thought it was great.
Oh, that's cool.
Really positively received. But it was more of this, like, hey, look what's in the cereal. Look what it's made of. It's filled with junk. And they never actually wound up airing it. And I think it was due to the nature of the episode.
Sure.
And it was probably a couple years ahead of its time. Like, I'm sure now it would be a little bit more topical. But I think it's more of like they don't want to feed that fire, because it ultimately looks bad on their part if they go after a small
but they can
business.
silence it, and at some point will they try, so that, who knows if because I wouldn't be surprised if executives from the communications branch and the food supply branch were like, hey, just keep
Definitely
that one
on the
out.
radar.
Yeah.
But like, are they going to try and limit your supply? If you sell this, then you're not going to get as much of our stuff. Or it can and will and may be already happening.
There might be stuff happening I'm not aware of. I think like cereal in general is like interesting. Like a huge category, as we talked about, 91% of households like have a box in their pantry. But a lot of these businesses have been declining, right? Because I think people are waking up to the junk-filled cereal at the store shelf. And so a lot of them, within a big company, right? You're either a growing part of the company, belle of the ball, you get the resources, you get the fancy TV commercials and all of that. How can we get more people to eat it? And then there's sort of managed for profit brands. And a lot of these cereal businesses are managed for profit, which is why they've gotten worse over time, taste-wise, why they've gotten worse over time, ingredient-wise, because they're just trying to squeeze as much profit as possible out of these brands. So I think they've lost a lot of resources, so
Interesting.
maybe not as much focus on Lovebird.
Yeah.
But
They've got some in-house problems to clean up.
yeah, and like I think there's a lot of like health brands. Like you've seen some recent ones get acquired. Some of my favorites, like a Siete or a Simple
Just gonna say
Mills, that got purchased by PepsiCo or
Yeah.
some big conglomerate, private equity backed thing. And I've purposely kept Lovebird 100% family owned. So like my family owns all of it, and so that is important to me for the reasons we talked about up until this point of just like allowing Lovebird to have its own unique voice.
Yeah.
Like the content we put out is meant to be informative. It's not like here's a box of Lovebird by a pool, like have a good summer, everybody. It's like no, there's 90% of our food has glyphosate on it. Like
Yeah.
start reading labels, and so that's how for me like I have the autonomy. A lot of these other companies are beholden to investors that hey, we need to make more money on this. I want to sell my business to these companies want to sell their business to a big food strategic partner.
right.
I have no desire to do that.
Yeah.
That's not why I created Lovebird. And like, I want to see this change through all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And like, for me to do that, it has to be 100% within my control. So we can live the values of Lovebird every day and not sacrifice or cut a corner. Because as I mentioned, it can get a little easy sometimes. Like even if you're not starting a cereal company, if you're just like, hey, today I don't feel like going to the gym, or today I don't feel like, today I feel like going to fast food or something like that. It's like easy to like, like the easiest person to like lie to is yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I think for me, it's that ultimate accountability and autonomy that allows me to do things the right way all of the time. But it does get tested from time to time. But I have to go back to that calling.
Yeah.
The reason why I created Lovebird is not to like just make profit. It's to profit with purpose.
Do you have a sort of like a long, like this is the end game. Like we have 75% penetration and we're in all 50 states, or do you have something like that in terms like this is what I want Lovebird to become? Or is it just like, I'm going to pursue my calling for the rest of my life?
It's a very interesting question. Like, I wish I had more time to like truly think about that. I think like
Here's a question.
yeah, no, but I mean, like I said, I do a lot for Lovebird. Like we're a very small team. And so I don't have as much time to like zoom out of like, hey, where do I want to be in 5 or 10 years?
Sure.
I think for me, I want to build something that lasts forever, right? I want this brand to stand for something. I think if you go back and look at the history of brands, like the true origin of a brand, like think about cattle, like you used to brand your cattle and that used to be a signal of quality, right? Like these are my cattle, this is my product, and there's a person behind it. I think the word brand has been, diluted to the point where it's like fun, and like it can be fun, but I think brand should matter and should stand for something, and like there should be someone behind it that's accountable for it. Because when it is a faceless corporation that's accountable for it, that's how you look at everybody as a number. Everybody is market share. And you lose touch with like, hey, this is food. This is meant to be nourishing. This is meant to be quality. How can we serve the best food possible to people to make sure that they're thriving and ultimately our society is better as a whole? And I want to bring back focus on brands that matter, and like, that quality component I think has been completely lost. And I want Lovebird, like I said, whether or not you buy it or not, is like question what you're buying, question the ingredients you're buying, ask questions of the food products you do buy, find out where it does come from, local farms or wherever, and be more food aware, because it is one of the most single important things you do on a daily basis that not many people think about.
Well, if you hadn't thought about that answer, that's a pretty damn good one off the top of your head. That's the real deal right there. That's cool.
I was going to ask, so you started e-commerce, pretty hyper fixated. Your market was very tight and defined, the very health crowd. Then you expanded out to Sprouts, Whole Foods, which is still health focused, but a little bit more broad. And now recently you did a limited run in Costco. How would you say that? I don't know how much data you have on it, but I guess generally, like perception, like how do you think that was perceived by a broader, less necessarily health-focused audience?
I think in general, people are waking up. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Costco during that launch, filming on my phone content.
Yeah.
But I remember walking down the aisles and I was talking to people, and they're talking about seed oils, they're talking about artificial food dyes. Like, the word is getting out, and I think, say what you will about those things, and I think we all have our opinions on them, but not to like touch a third rail for some people out there, but in general, I think people are becoming more aware of what food they put into their bodies, and like that's the whole point. Like, I do believe in consumer choice. I think when companies hide ingredients in their products and don't disclose what's in it, as you pointed out earlier, like, people are not dumb. Like, faced with the accurate information, most people, I would say all people, will make the right decision. And I think when you go into these retailers, I think there's two important things. One, the people that make the purchasing decisions at these retailers are tuned into it 100%. Like, they are looking at ways to have better products on their shelves. And I think more and more brands are going to start to pop up as a result. But like, Lovebird is something that like fits in that mold. So like, the buyer interest in there, the people who actually make the decisions on what food goes in that store or goes on that shelf. And then I think more importantly, like, the people that shop at those stores are looking for those types of products. So like, I'm optimistic. Like, any change, it doesn't happen overnight, but box by box, that's how you drive real change. And I think whether or not it's Lovebird or other things that you're purchasing, I think that's how we'll ultimately reverse some of the chronic health disease in our country. Yeah. Because it's not just like a exercise more, equation. Like, I think it's important, right? Like, physical health, but it's hard to be physically active when you're eating food that's keeping you sick and tired all the time. Like, why do you have no motivation to go out and walk? Why do you have no motivation to go out and be the best version of yourself? Because you're slowly poisoning yourself with food. Like, you're buying cartoon character Cheetos and chasing it with Mountain Dew. And, growing up, I did the same thing. Your body's resilient no matter where you are on your health journey. You can turn it around. Like, your body, like, I've repeated it multiple times, but I cannot overstate how resilient your body is. Like, your stomach lining replaces every 2 weeks, your skin every 2 weeks. The cells in your body are constantly getting fuel to like better yourself. And so no matter where you're at, you could have been eating a diet of nachos and cookies and all of the worst things, like eating fast food for every meal. But if you decided to make a change tomorrow, it might be hard in the beginning, but I guarantee you within 30, 60, 90 days, you will be a different person. You will be a happier person, and you will live a life full of purpose. Whereas before, you're just kind of slogging through the day. And so, I think people are waking up, and I think they're tying what they eat to how they feel, which is the first step.
Yeah, and I think
that's incredible.
I think just even
quick, I gotta jump out at this point.
Oh, no worries,
dude. That was amazing.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry for my schedule today.
No worries, man.
I do want to touch base with you on the other podcast.
Let's do it.
That'd be a blast. I'll catch up with you right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
If you're gone, otherwise, hopefully.
Okay, no worries.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What I was gonna say was, like, I think just having it in a store that's less of a because like a Whole Foods or a Sprouts, there's like huge segment of the population is never even gonna walk in there. But a Costco or a Target or Kroger or whatever, I don't know what your plans are, but I think it's just seeing it there, like, can get them to start thinking about it and asking those questions. And I think a big one with cereal is like the fortification of the nutrients. And it's like, if I see real food ingredients on a box versus like fortified vitamins and minerals, you start to think about like, okay, what is this even, like, I didn't even know this was an option for cereal. And I think, the brand Ice Cream for Bears?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good example, because it's like, I've heard people say a lot, it's like, you can't make an ice cream without gums, without a guar gum or whatever kind of gum. And then they just do. And then now that's the standard. So you see, and that's more niche health focused, but you go and you look at that and you're saying, okay, then why do all these other health food brands like have a gum in it? I think it's the same thing on a bigger scale with the cereal. It's like, if you don't even know it exists, if you don't even have that choice, then there's no other option. It doesn't even exist in your mind. So
yeah, which is crazy. It's like, hey, I can make ice cream at home. Yeah. With minimal ingredients, and it's almost a health food with egg yolks. Yeah. Like all of these things. And then you go in the store and it's just full of gums, and like that's a classic like shelf life. Yeah. Thing and texture. Same, it's like over engineered. Yeah. And so Ice Cream for Bears, I think one of their flavors has natural flavors in it, but a lot of their stuff is great. But a lot of their stuff is great, and I think people becoming aware and voting with their dollar. And I think the magic equation is like do all of that, but also make it taste great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ice cream for bears tastes awesome,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like it's not like, oh, I'm sacrificing taste
Yeah.
because I don't have gums in it.
It's better because, like you said, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It's not just like an immediate gratification of artificial flavor. It's like you eat it, you're full. It's nutrient dense. It's like
Yeah.
this is a bigger cascading effect of eating it. It's
100%.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess Chris left. We don't really. You probably have a busy day, but yeah. I mean, thanks so much for joining. A great conversation. Love connecting with you, and I'm sure we'll keep talking more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me. I think if anything, this conversation is consumers have a choice. Learn about what's in your food and then vote with your dollar, because that's how real change happens. And we're already starting to see it. So let's keep it going. And I think ultimately will help improve the overall health of our country.
Yeah, absolutely.